Well, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. I hope everyone is doing well today. Welcome back to Sanskrit Series 1. And I think this is class 4. So we're making good progress. And we have a lot of material to cover today. So we may or may not be able to have breakout groups, but we'll try. So let's have the first slide, Marina. After the title. I think there's one before that. Nope. All right. First, we're going to sing the vowel song. So I would like everyone to open their mics and sing along with me. And you all know it. So I hope everyone's mic is open. Let's sing. I'll sing it first to remind you, and then we'll sing it together. So, I, u, lir, lir, I, o, ow, All right, let's sing together. Sing with me. Open your mics and let's sing. Uh, uh, u, er, dear. A, I, ow. Very good. Very good. And I always have a standing request. If anyone is a good singer and wishes to learn this alphabet song very well and sing it instead of me, I would be very happy. Okay, so let's look at this word here. Yeah. And this is a word. Who can pronounce it for me?
Swara.
Svara.
Swara.
Well, saying is not incorrect. A lot of people say swara. I was taught with a v sound instead of a w sound. Neither is wrong. So I say svara, but it's fine to say swara. Svara. Practice with me. Open your mics and say svara.
Swara.
Very good.
Swara.
Two short vowels. Svara.
Swara.
Svara. And what does it mean? Does anyone remember?
Vowel.
Yes? Vowel. So it's a word that means vowel. It also just means sound. And it can also mean the flow or vibration of prana in the body. So it's a very good word. All right, next slide. Okay, so that's our review of vowels, which represent the flow of prana. Now, consonants, which we are going to talk about today, stop the flow. So they break the flow of vowels up into pieces. They help make things manifest. They objectify. They create objects. They make words, right? Let's try the next slide. So here is a word for consonant. The way it's pronounced is vyanjana, Please, everyone say Vyanjana.
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 Vyanjana. Good. And it's made up of two components, two pieces, Vi and Anjana. Now, Vi is a very nice Sanskrit word. It's a prefix, which means it comes before some words. And it can mean either very much or not at all. So we can share a laugh here because it's part of what makes Sanskrit a beautiful, subtle language. Sometimes the same word or part of a word can mean two entirely different things. So here, it's an emphasizer, very much. So that's the first part of the word, vi. Now, when we combine a prefix and another word, sometimes, because Sanskrit is a sound-based language, the ancient speakers thought we can't say it vi anjana. So they put the two syllables together with a different consonant, and they pronounce this word vyanjana. So think about why the ancient Sanskrit speaker did not feel they could say vi anjana. They had to say vyanjana, and then it changes the way it's written. Okay. What do you think? Does it sound better vyanjana or does it sound better vi anjana? If you prefer vyanjana, put some ones in the chat. If you prefer vi anjana, put twos. Sharon prefers vyanjana. I agree. I think that sounds better. Okay. So we will see as we move through our lessons that we are going to change the spelling of things very frequently, depending on what sounds better to the ancient Sanskrit ear. So you just have your first example of many, many examples like this to come. And that's why Sanskrit is sound-based, because the same word can look differently in different combinations in a sentence. Now, anjana is an interesting word. It means usually a kind of black ointment, a black substance that people used to outline their eyes, eye makeup. And it sort of has another meaning, which is related. So if you outline your eyes, you make them clearer or more distinct. So here's a word that means to make clear or make distinct. And we can say that it means to make it manifest. So if we have the flow of sound represented by vowels, once we put consonants on that flow, we manifest things. We make things distinct from the flow. We objectify. We create discrete objects. Okay. So it's a very useful definition here. So we will not define this as eyeliner. We will define it as making distinct. So vyanjana means to very deeply manifest or outline or make something very clear or distinct. very much so, vi. All right, let's have the next slide. Now here's a grid, empty at the moment, with 5 columns and 5 rows. We're going to use this a lot in the next few weeks. And you might want to make your own copy of a grid of this shape so that you can use it as a worksheet for practice. We will use this grid to understand a lot more about the main 25 consonants in Sanskrit. And we're going to start doing that today. And let's talk about the basic consonants. Next slide. Here they are. Now I spread this out a little, so it's not in a tight square, but you can see that there are 5 columns and 5 rows. So this is how they are arranged. And this is the order we will learn them in. They start in the top left and go across to the right, then the second row, etc. Now, when you recite the alphabet in Sanskrit, you always start with the sweet 16. The first 16 letters are the vowels. Then you recite the next 25, which are here, the main consonants. And this is the alphabetical order in Sanskrit. So if you were looking in a Sanskrit dictionary, you would start with then go through 16 vowels, and then you would come to k. Okay. Now, they don't have as much of a song as the vowels have, so we're just going to recite them. It's sort of more like a chant than a song. So I'm going to say them for you, and then I'll ask you to say them with me. The first row is k, k, g, g, n. Then ch, ch, j, j, n. T, t, d, d, n. T, t, d, d, n. P, p, b, b, m. All right. So unlike English, each consonant comes attached to the primal Sanskrit vowel. That is the letter A. So that is how we recite them. If you recite the alphabet in English, for example, different consonants have different sounds. Like you could say K or F. So different vowels come before or after the consonant. That's not the case in Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, they're all attached to the primal vowel so they all sound the same. They start with the consonant sound, and then there's an sound. So we will recite them that way. Let's have the next slide, please. Here's a new word for you, and it's varga. Can everybody please open their mics and say with me, varga? Varga.
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 Very good.
Varga.
Varga. 2
Varga.
short vowels. Varga.
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 Varga. This is a word that means category or class. So each row, let's have the next slide. It's the same slide again. Each row is a varga. It's a fancy Sanskrit word for class of vowels, consonants, class of consonants. So the first varga is the ka varga, ka, ka, ga, ka, n. The second varga, etc. Okay. So let's have the next slide. There are other characteristics of these 25 consonants, and I've listed them out for you here. Not only do we have 5 vargas, but there are at least 3 different other sets of qualities that the consonants have, and they're arranged in this order so that you can memorize and become familiar with these other qualities. And these differentiations among the letters will become more important as we go deeper into our study of Sanskrit. So let's check this out. The first thing is the varga, and we have gone over that, so you know what that's all about. Varga is very important for things like sandhi, which is a term you might have heard, and it involves changing or combining letters based on what comes before them and what comes after them. And when you combine letters using sandhi, very often you need to switch out one consonant for a different consonant in their own varga. So it becomes important to remember which consonants go together in which varga. Let's see. All right, so there are also hard and soft consonants. Now, the first 2 columns are hard. I put them in green, and those are the hard consonants. The last 3 columns are soft consonants. And this is also important when you later need to change different letters out with another. For instance, you might have a certain kind of sandhi in front of hard letters and a different kind of sandhi in front of soft letters. So you need to know which is which. Then at the very top of this chart, I have marked the unaspirated, the aspirated, and the nasal letters. Okay, so these alternate. The first column of each varga is unaspirated, and so is the third column of each varga. The second column and the fourth column are both aspirated. And the fifth column is all by itself, and that's a nasal column. I see a question in the chat. What is sandhi? Sandhi is a word that will come to later, and I'm just mentioning it now because it's so important in Sanskrit. It's a word that means join or connect. And it's a set of rules that we will learn much later, not in series 1, although we will learn a little bit. It's a set of rules that tell you how to change which letter into which other letter in which conditions. And again, Most other languages do not have an extensive series of sandhi changes. Sanskrit has a lot because to the ancient Sanskrit ear, it really depended a lot on how it sounded to them. Okay, so back to the aspirated and the unaspirated. If you look closely, you will notice that all of the aspirated letters have the letter H in them. And again, this is not a real letter in Sanskrit. This is just the IAST, the way that we transliterate these letters. So we've put the letter H with them to indicate that you add a breath sound when you pronounce the aspirated letters. So the unaspirated letter in the first varga is K, and the aspirated version of that is K. So everybody try that. Open your mics and say K, K, exaggerate.
Ka,
Ka.
ka,
Ka.
K, no breath,
ka,
K, breath sound. Good, good.
Ka. Ka.
Yes, good. And the same with G, G. Say G, G.
Ga.
ga, ga,
Ga.
ga,
Ga.
Good. And this goes all the way down through all the vargas. Now, the second varga, the unaspirated letter is cha. It looks like a C, which in English can sound like a ka. It's never a ka in Sanskrit. It's always a cha. And the second letter in that varga is cha. Now, it's sometimes difficult to hear the difference in the second varga between these different sounds, especially with cha, cha. But if you are careful, you can reproduce it and you can hear it when it's said properly. And then we have ja, cha, and in the third varga, ta, ta, and da, da. The fourth varga is ta, ta, and da, da. And the fifth varga is pa, pa, and ba, ba. And there is the nasal column, which is the last column, which we haven't experimented with yet, but we'll do that next. So let's have the next slide. Okay, you remember this slide. It has the 5 Sanskrit mouth positions. And we already learned about this with vowels. But now it's also true for consonants. It's true for all Sanskrit letters. So it's important to study it and remember how to pronounce each one. So each consonant varga is associated with one of the mouth positions. And let's go over those. The guttural sounds are all the way in the back of your throat. So you kind of close up your throat and you say that letter. And the first varga is guttural. So these letters will be ka, ka, ga, ga. And the nasal, if you say that N sound in the back of your throat, it sounds like nga, nga. You say it by closing up your throat. I'm just going to go over this and then we'll practice. The palatal position is when you put the tip of your tongue on the little bump in the back of your mouth. And the second varga is palatal. So we would say kra, kra, gra, kra, and ma. Personally, I find this the most challenging position to pronounce. The third varga is cerebral, which you will remember is when you put the tip of your tongue straight up to the roof of your mouth, and we say those letters as ka, ka, da, da, and na. The fourth varga is the most like English, and I think many European languages. I know nothing about Asian languages, so I can't say. But the dental position is where you put the tip of your tongue behind your teeth, a little bit up on that bump, and you say ta, ta, da, da, and na. And finally, the fifth varga is labial. And this, you use your lips and you say pa, pa, ba, ba, and ma. So remember, if you look anything up in the dictionary, this is the order you're going to look things up in. So first the vowels and then the consonants. And that is a somewhat challenging idea when you come to the point of looking things up in the dictionary. So let's go to the next slide. No, see what is the next, there it is, that's the one I want to see. So there are a few weird letters. I mean, they're not really weird, but I'm going to say they're weird. The first one to notice is that in the last column, there are 4 of the same letter, right? They're all N's. So some of them sound a lot like, pretty much like their English versions. But when they're pronounced correctly, they sound quite different. And they're pronounced according to their varga. So let's just do the 5 nasals and pronounce them according to what we know about mouth position. So you'll have to remember the chart with the mouth positions, and we'll start with the first position, which is guttural, back in the back of our throat. So I'll say them first, then you follow after me. Na, 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 and ma. The difference is very subtle, but it is there. Okay. Now in the second varga, which one is the hard unaspirated letter? Who remembers the hard column and the unaspirated column?
Cha.
Cha. I have given you a hint by marking it there. And I mentioned this earlier, but I want to emphasize it. It's always pronounced cha. It's never pronounced ka, or in any other way other languages might have it. So you know words, I'm sure, like chakra and chitta. Chakra is one of the energy choke points in the body. We study this in yoga particularly. Chitta is a word for mind. And they're both spelled with a C, but they're always pronounced cha. Okay. So the next letter, which is the aspirated version, is cha. But usually it's challenging to get that breath sound in. So it's very often pronounced like the cha before it. So the two letters sound similar. And they are often found in combination. So you just make a double ch sound when that happens. Okay. And finally, the third varga may be a little bit extra challenging for us as we learn to pronounce Sanskrit correctly. The first, fourth, and fifth vargas are very much like modern European languages. The second varga, as I mentioned, is very hard for us to say, so we often just say it more like an English sound, even though that's technically incorrect. But the third varga, we can say properly, even though it's a little bit challenging. So since it's the cerebral position, we know we're going to put our tongue straight up on the top of our roof of our mouth into our brains and practice with me saying these 5 letters with the tongue in the right position. So open your mics and say with me, ka, ka,
ka, ka,
ta, ta. Again,
ta, ta,
ka,
yes. And then da, da.
da,
ga,
ta,
ka,
That,
And then na.
na,
ra,
na,
ra.
na.
Good. So that does not really sound like English or modern European languages. It's ta, ta, da, da, na. So we make that fun to pronounce because we can actually do that. Okay. All right. That sounds good. Let's try the next slide. I don't know, that seems to have not come through properly. No, the one before that. Yeah. Nope, go back to the one you just said, that one. That's where we went. Okay, now this is nakinchidasti tadvastu yadapyasasya dushkaram tasman merdu vyat abhyasat sodhavyapi mahavyatha. So this is a line from the Bodhisattva's way of life, the Bodhisattva Charyavatara in Sanskrit. It's from chapter 6 and it's verse 14. So we'll do some work with this over the course of this class. The translation is, there is nothing in the world which does not come easily if you make a habit of it. Make then a habit of bearing the small pains and thus endure the greater. So this is Master Shantideva giving us a beautiful piece of wisdom that we can use every day in our daily lives. At least I can. So let's practice it. If you feel really ambitious, you could try to memorize it. Okay. So let's take a look at the long and short vowels, and we're going to say na kinchidasti. Everybody say that with me. Na
Na
kinchidasti.
kimchi asti.
It's not,
Asti.
that is a dental S, so it's a plain sa. Don't say sha. That would be cerebral or palatal. So it's just asti. Asti. And remember how we say the not but like a grunt. So I'll say it one more time. Na kinchid asti.
Naskin.
Yeah.
Naskin. Street. Asti.
Na kinchid asti.
Na kings. Asti.
Asti. Good. Tad astu. Tad
Tad astu.
astu.
Vastu.
Perfect. Na kinchid asti tad vastu. Say with me. Na
Naskin. Asti. Tad vastu.
na kinchid asti tad vastu.
Naskin. Asti. Tad vastu.
Perfect. Good Sanskrit. And there's no, well, I should ask you, are there any long vowels in that part of the phrase? In those first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words.
Yeah.
Which is are there long vowels?
Vastu.
Why do you say that?
Wrong.
Are there any markers there?
No.
Okay.
Just we know what.
No long.
Hold on. All short. Every vowel there is short. Okay, let's try the second half of that verse. Yad abhyasasya dushkaram. Yad abhyasasya dushkaram. Say with me. Yad
Yeah.
Yad abyas. Wait, I do that again. Yad abyasasya dushkaram. Say. Yad Very good. All right. Are there any long vowels in that one?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. There's one long vowel in that line. So why don't we say, let's see which consonants that you can identify. What about that first consonant, the one in na? What do you think that one is? Which varga?
The fourth one, the dental N.
Yes, exactly. That's very good. What about that ka in kin? What varga?
The first one, guttural.
First varga, guttural varga. What about that funny looking N with the mark over it? Which varga?
The third one?
The
Nope.
second.
Oh, the second.
Second.
Yeah.
Very good. Second one. That is a palatal nasal. So we would technically we would try to say kun, kun. It's not easy. And what about the consonant in the third word, the first one? What is that? Cha. Which varga?
Second.
Sorry?
Second.
Right. And the d?
Or the fourth one.
Fourth varga. Okay. And what about the S in asti? Oh, wait a minute. I take that question back because we only did the first 25 vowels. So we didn't go over the sibilants yet. S is a sibilant, just the way N is a nasal. But we know about that T in Vastu. What T is that?
The fourth one.
Yes, that's a plain dental T, ta, Vastu. And what about the D in Yud?
Same.
Yes, dental. All right, now here's a challenging one. BH is a consonant. We write it in Ayast with 2 letters, but in Sanskrit it's only 1 letter. Which varga is that?
The fifth one.
Fifth varga. Exactly. It's the ba, the aspirated, soft letter is a fifth varga. And I think we've done most of the rest of them that we know. All right. So let's recite the second part of the verse. I'll do it for you in halves, 1/2 and then the second half. So, Tazman Martu Yat Abya Sat Sodavya. Wait, let me do that again. Sodavya Pe Mahavyata. Tazman merdu vyad abyasat. Say that with me, please. Tazman vyad abyasat.
Abhyasa.
Very good long vowels. Good. Tazman merdu yad abyasat. Say it with me. Tazman
Martu ya
Ba.
biasa.
Yasha.
And the second half. So yape mahavyata. Sodhavyape mahavyata. Say with me.
Yapi Mahavyata.
Yatha.
Good. So I'm going to remind you that every O is long, so it's 2 beats. How many long vowels are in this whole line? That's 8. That's right. A bunch of long and 1 O, right? And I've put down below the Devanagari for you, just so you get used to looking at it. We can't really read it yet, but we are getting used to how it looks. And this line of Devanagari is broken into words. And you remember traditional Sanskrit would all be one unbroken line. And that line on top is called sutra. Okay. Next slide, please. All right, let me find my place here. Give me a moment. That's not the next slide I have. Can you try and see what you have next? A different one? No, that's the same one. Go to the next one. Let's see if that's the right one.
This is last.
It's the last one?
Yes.
All right. Well, I have some extra slides here. I must have sent you the wrong version, Marina. I'm sorry. All right. Well, then the next one that I have is just the English version of the verse. So if we go back several, there it is. It just go over the meaning again. There is nothing in the world which does not come easily if you make a habit of it. Make then a habit of bearing the small pains and thus endure the greater. All right, so what I was thinking was that we would do a breakout group and help us and practice reciting the verses and saying which varga the letters are in, which are aspirated, which are unaspirated, hard, soft, or nasal. And then you have enough information now to be able to pronounce on your own almost every letter correctly, every vowel, and 25 of the consonants. So I think we should celebrate that. After 4 weeks of Sanskrit, we are at that point. So Marina, do you think we could set up some breakout groups by language group? And I'm going to ask you to practice reading this, pay attention to long and short, and discuss which letters are which varga, which ones are hard, which ones are soft, which ones are aspirated, and which ones are nasal. Can we set up some breakout groups now? And we'll do this for maybe.
How long you want to do it?
Okay.
For 5 or 10 minutes?
I think we want 10 minutes.
Good. Okay.
Thank you. Wait, let me ask, does everyone feel clear about what you're going to practice? Any questions? I assume that means you're clear. Practice reciting the verse, practice discussing which varga the different consonants are in, practice whether they're identifying whether they're hard, soft, aspirated, unaspirated, or nasal. Okay? And bring any questions back when you're done. Okay, see you in a few minutes. Okay, are we back? Who has returned? Open your mics and say, me.
Me.
Good,
Me.
good. Okay. People are back. So tell me, did you have enough time? Put ones in the chat for yes or twos for no. One and a half, good. That's perfect. Okay, good. All right, do you have any questions? Everything is crystal clear. That's very good. I'm very impressed. Did you remember about the vocalic R in Merdu in the second line? Is that easy to say now? Merdu. Very easy, right? Someone speak.
Yeah, not too difficult.
Not
But do.
because you guys know a lot of Sanskrit. So congratulations. Of the 8.5 billion people in the world, only a few of us are studying Sanskrit. So you are very, very special. And I congratulate you and I appreciate you. You are amazing and you know a lot now. And next week we will learn even more. So I look forward to seeing you, and make sure that you ask any questions in the chat. And I hope you are all able to use the Telegram chat and that it's helpful to you. So let us know if not. See you next week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.